Number 22 on the RCA Albums collection is the soundtrack to the MGM feature film Girl Happy. Girl Happy is actually a better movie than the title would lead you on to believe. It's actually one of the better written Elvis Presley movies. And we'll talk more about that when we get into the movie review, but as far as the soundtrack is concerned on this one, the songs on here are actually pretty good. The problem is that at the time, they wanted to try to make Elvis sound younger, and their solution was, because his voice had dropped in pitch and tonality from even just a few years earlier. Part of that was part of it was natural, but part of it too was also his delivery on certain songs. If he wasn't particularly interested in a song, he wouldn't put as much effort into it. But even when he didn't put that much effort into it, it was actually, it does sound, it still sounds good. But you can tell just that he's not really, he doesn't really put the heart into it that he should. So their solution, which is not really much of a solution at all, is to speed up some of the recordings. And not just like the tempo, but back in the 60s when you sped up a tape, you sped up both the tempo and the pitch. And so like on the title track, I'm half expecting Ross Bagdasarian, David Seville, to scream in the background, "Alvin!" Because Elvis sounds like fucking Chipmunk on that song, and I really wish. I understand for this box set and on the original vinyl album, of course, you want to keep it that way for historical accuracy. But when I've seen that track, and there are a couple others on this that have that same effect applied. When I hear those on other compilations, I groan, because there's no reason why they can't slow that back down to where it was. Because when it's in this form, it sounds really lame. It really does. Which is a shame, because it's actually not that bad of a song when you actually hear it. Like, if you get the FTD with all the outtakes are in the original pitch and the original tempo. And it sounds perfectly fine. I do have to commend the writers, the songwriters, for managing to be the only song. They have a song on here. It's the only song I know that has ever worked in the words Chamber of Commerce into a song title. It's the Fort Lauderdale Chamber of Commerce. And that's actually a pretty catchy song. This is kind of a cut above for the period. Puppet on the String was kind of the big standout track from this one. I believe it was the single. Do the Clam was also, I believe, released as a single overseas. The folks on FECC, for all CD collectors only, that forum, they've recently had a big debate over how big of a success Do the Clam was overseas. But my favorite song off this album is actually not even from the movie. It's the one bonus track. Rather than having two bonus tracks, there's just one bonus track on Girl Happy, and it's You'll Be Gone. And Elvis fans know that this is one of two songs that Elvis genuinely had a hand in songwriting. And it's actually a pretty good song. It kind of has I don't know how to describe it. It's almost like a Hispanic, Italian, sort of Mediterranean type rhythm. I recall in one of his biographies they talked about that it originally started as Begin to Begin, with different lyrics, and then when they found out that wasn't actually in the public domain, they ended up writing new music as well. Him and Red West, and I think it was Charlie Hodge, I could be wrong. But it's one of the two songs that he actually contributed Something to That Someone You'll Never Forget is the other one, and that one I believe was from my recollections is just the title that he came up with. He was like, "Here's my idea for a title, go write it," and this one he actually sat down and wrote. So this album in particular is special because of that. But you wouldn't know that Elvis had anything to do with writing that if you bought this in the '60s. There are a few other good songs. Wolf Call works better in the context of the movie, but it's not bad on its own. Cross My Heart and Hope to Die is pretty good on the album. The rest of them are better in the context to the movie, but like with Roustabout and some of these other soundtracks, just a couple standout tracks. Spring Fever is another good one. I was actually surprised a few years ago. There was a company that used an alternate take of Spring Fever in an advertisement. So somebody in that marketing department must have been a really huge Elvis fan, because it wasn't a hit, it wasn't a single, and it was an alternate take, so you would have had to have gotten it from an FTD. But it's not bad. If you sit down and listen to it as a whole, it's all right. It's not bad. There's a couple songs you'll like. Do the Climb is not as bad as it sounds like it would be. It just has a really kind of awful title. But otherwise, it's okay. Yeah, that's all I got.